Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining the next episode of the Emergence Show. I'm Yuniko Farah, your host, and we are going to talk about some exciting topics. We have been talking about AR and how it's impacting marketing, branding, storytelling. Now we want to go a little bit more into word that doesn't have as much excitement with it anymore, Metaverse. But I was just at Augmented World Expo last week, and I saw how much innovation is happening, how many builders are still building really cool technologies that I will be sharing over the next few weeks. But we are also seeing a lot of brands still creating great activations, and this is just a new way of telling the stories. And we have an expert today who is going to tell us from the perspective of working with enterprises, how they are looking at AI, Metaverse, XR, all these emerging tech and immersive experiences. So thank you so much for being here, Olesja. I'm so excited to have you. And please introduce yourself. Tell us more about yourself and your work.
Thanks, Nico. Thanks so much for having me and inviting me. Hi, everyone. My name is Olesja. I'm located in Helsinki, in Finland. I work at Accenture and I work with emerging technologies, with metaverse technologies. I'm experience designer, so I design experiences and concepts utilizing extended reality. Also UX design or concept design, like I mentioned. And so I'm less of a technical person, so I don't build, but I'm involved in designing the experience for humans and how we bring innovation towards end user. And I've been at Accenture for 6 years and working with different technologies. And lately been working in our MCBG Metaverse Continuum business group.
Amazing.
So thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. Good morning, Gabriel, and all of our amazing audience and community for being here. Tell us a little bit more about your background, how you got into this space. I know beyond the experience design that you're doing for these immersive experiences, you have been a fashion illustrator and you're very passionate about the fashion side. And the fact I met you at an Exthereal event a few years back during the pandemic. So tell us about all those type of experiences and your background.
Yeah, with pleasure. So my story is very not linear, how to say it. It's not really straightforward. My background is in strategic management. So I studied business strategy and I've always worked with technology companies. Very different. I used to work at Nokia before. So, that's our mobile phone company in Finland, very famous one. Then I worked at another technology company. But at one point, I was doing digital customer experience. So working with online experiences and so forth. And ended up as a service designer and kind of a very generalist service designer, right? So any kind of emerging technology, be it AI, mobile, for mobile applications, XR, any kind of like service design. And then I've always been fascinated how to combine fashion and technology. So in my free time, when I'm not working, when I'm not strategizing or designing experiences, I'm a fashion illustrator. So I draw fashion, right? Fashion illustration is kind of a niche art style.
Yeah.
Fashion illustrators draw only fashion related imagery, so models, clothes, portraits. And you can see, for example, fashion illustration in fashion magazines or in books or in collaborations on products. So that's something kind of like I do in parallel. I've illustrated quite a few books, websites. I do lots of commission portraits. I've done commission work for different brands. I've done live illustrations. So, for example, painting fashion items or clothing or people silhouettes live. For example, I've done that for Louis Vuitton event. And so this is something like I do in my free time, but then at some point I realized I want to combine all of my passions. What if I want to learn painting in virtual reality? So not 3D modeling you do on a desktop, but painting in VR while wearing a VR headset.
Yes.
And yeah, I just got learned to do that, got a VR headset and a few programs for that, and started painting, and ended up having a event for Helsinki Design Week. And we created in a collaboration with one fashion designer. So we had an event where we had a real catwalk, so right, real models, real clothes. And then we had fashion illustration exhibition where we have like, paintings on the walls, which I did. And then we also had virtual reality painting. So people, end users, visitors can put on VR headset and see fashion in 3D in virtual reality. So that ended up being an exhibition in the National Museum of Finland, which was unbelievable at that time and really surprising. And this was in 2019. So that was kind of very, very early.
Yes.
It's now that people talk about digital fashion and 3D, right? In more kind of like a wider mass market, so to say. But back then it was still kind of a very new thing. And after that, I established a conference, the one you mentioned, Exthereal, about digital fashion and technology and gaming, and how all of these cross disciplines, merge to create immersive experiences for fashion and retail.
That's awesome. Wow, that's really fascinating. I'm always amazed by these multifaceted individuals like you. I hope that Exthereal comes back. That was a great conference. And especially during the pandemic that we were all far from each other, that was a great type of content to bring us together. I want to thank our audience, Fatima and Gabriel and everyone else. Thank you for your beautiful comments. I appreciate you. Yes, we need to invest in more women. And yes, so you came from fashion illustration experience, and now you're experienced designing for this emerging tech. That is cool. So are you still like designing with like pen and paper? Tell us more, like, what does that even mean in this, realm?
Yeah, well, depends on what I'm working on, right? So if we talk about fashion illustration alone, I still do that, right? It's very traditional. It's ink, watercolors, paper, and that kind of lives a life on its own. Next project, what I'm planning is that I'm going to have an art exhibition, like real paintings, right? Something you can hang on the wall. But if you look at the painting through a tablet or a phone, you would have augmented reality, another piece of art attached on top of it. So I think there's going to be more and more this kind of experiences coming. I mean, this is nothing new, right? There's already, like, you can have museum AR tours. But it's about, there's going to be a lot more activation with 3D assets, with different products or package design or art to provide this kind of like immersive experiences. So that's kind of, something that I'm looking into, like in addition to the work that I do on daily basis as a consultant.
Awesome. So as a consultant, you are also designing experiences.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the process? So like a client comes to you and they have an idea, you kind of like start building the flow with them. If you can just walk us through your workflow.
Yeah,
And then we can get into
it's very
concepts.
different. It depends on the client. The good thing about consultancy is that you don't get bored, right? You're always going to have a new industry, you're going to have a new client, you're going to have a new use case. So the thrill of the new doesn't go away. And sometimes the projects are very, very different. Sometimes a client may come to us and say, we're interested in reviewing this technology or how we can utilize it. How do we use it for our best advantage? And we would start, brainstorming to come up with good, suitable use cases that will bring value to that client. Or sometimes it can be very proactive on our side. For example, you are in banking industry. We believe this is going to be a really good use case for you. Are you interested? Let's design this further together, but we have done already preliminary work. But it depends on what kind of a role I have. Sometimes I can be UX designer who does simply, interactions with the technology or a product and between the client, end user, sorry. Or then sometimes it can be, overall service design of what the concept is going to be like, right? What is the value and what is like the overall description and scope. So it changes very much. Sometimes I can also be either a project designer or a scrum master for a project that has been already, for example, right? You have established scope and you have all of the requirements set out, and then you just need to kind of operate it and deliver it.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, we get into more of the challenges and processes. And I want to ask our audience, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comment section. We're going to go through some slides, talk about, demystifying these topics and what it means for enterprise. And then we talk about some use cases in fashion and retail. And we even get to topics like AI. So if you are ready, Olesja, we can start sharing the screen and talk about them.
Yeah, let's go. And we have really exciting things we're going to be talking about. I'm actually really excited about this. Okay. Well, first things first, let's talk about Metaverse, right? The word itself. And right now there's spatial computing, there's XR, VR, mixed reality. People are using these terms interchangeably. Right. So I think it's good to first establish what are we talking about, right? So we at Accenture define the metaverse as the future or evolution of internet, right? So you can put metaverse equals sign the internet, but what it's going to be in the future. Right. An evolution of the internet that enables user to move beyond browsing, which means right now we're browsing on 2D screens, right? But we're going to go towards inhabiting, so being present in a persistent, virtual, shared experience. And that spans the spectrum. Is it real world? Is it entirely virtual? Or it's something in between? So what the internet of the future is going to be, nobody has a perfect answer what the metaverse is going to be, right? We're going to cover that in the next slide. But we know some elements. It's going to be social, right? It's going to be persistent. It's 3D, meaning that you're not looking at flat screen. It's enabled by extended reality or immersive technologies. And there are these factors that make the future of internet kind of like recognizable now. We live right now where the internet was in the 90s, right? In the 90s, remember the websites were a bit like chunky and old pixels and a little bit maybe busy and crowded and uncomfortable to use and too much to read. And now if you look at it, it's old-fashioned. So I would say in the future, when we look back at what we call right now metaverse experiences, that's how we're going to feel about them, right? That they're a little bit clunky and chunky and then there's too much pixels and something doesn't feel right and the user experience isn't that good. So how we're going to use the metaverse, it's exciting because we are designing it right now and we'll design it in the future. We just need the technology foundations. But what we understand is that metaverse has two kind of dimensions. So if in 2000 was internet of like data, information, right? Push information. Then we had internet of people, where we suddenly had social media and blogging, where you have two people potentially talking to each other or pushing and publishing information, right? Then we had a phase in 2010s, Internet of Things, when we started suddenly connecting all of the items, smart items to the internet, right? We have, refrigerator, car, industrial object connected to the internet. And now we have two elements, which are Internet of Place and Internet of Ownership. They help to build the metaverse. Internet of Place means that it's a 3D dimension, right? 3D place that we can visit, that we can browse, that we can inhabit. And what you build in it, it can be very, very creative and different. It can be a showroom, a playground, a shop, museum, arena, sports arena, a concert, whatever, right? You inhabit this place and you navigate around it. But then Internet of Ownership, that's about, how Web3 and blockchain and elements like community and elements that are going to enable us to own things, exchange things, trade, verify our ownership, authenticate. So this is about, I have here examples on the right-hand side, right? So if we talk about in terms of fashion or retail, if we talk about Internet of Place, that's a destination for fashion. But if we talk in terms of ownership, what you can own, buy, create, sell, earn, trade, right? All of those assets, and you can prove that you have bought or sold or created something. So that brings us to a whole new spectrum of different goods and data assets. You can have virtual accessories and avatars and loyalty programs based on those 3D objects and so forth. So really, really exciting time. And like I said, we know the elements right now. We know that the future for fashion metaverse, for example, is going to be experience and content driven, right? Brands are going to be competing for the attention and who offers the most exciting experiences. And all of the advertising is going to be kind of like done by accident or by product, right? Because if brands manage to grasp your attention and keep you in their metaverse for a long time, that's going to be how they win. So we know these elements about the metaverse. It's going to be spatial, right? It's a virtual place. It's interoperable. Ideally, it would be really nice if you have one avatar, one wallet, one identity, and you can walk around different places, just like now you use, for example, right? Maybe you, with one account, you can log into different services. And then also, for at least for fashion and retail, lots of creativity, lots of experimenting, trying to build something new. That's also going to be like a winning hand. Another big trend, being utility driven. What is it that the value you can bring to the end user? So when we talk about, for example, NFTs and utility, right? This is also a very controversial topic. People before kind of, some skeptics say like, I don't need an NFT. I can just take a print screen of a picture and there. I don't need an NFT. But when you're getting an NFT, what you're actually really getting is the metadata and proof of ownership that this is, for example, a rare item and you own it. But then we bring to the, like, if you just want a picture of something, and that's fine, maybe you want to keep it, right? So your utility here is the same thing if you would buy a painting and you put it on the wall and you say, hey, I like this piece of art. But then you can have a metaverse utility. So you buy an NFT or an asset, and that gives you, for example, exclusive access in some sort of experience. Or maybe you get some discount in real life, real world utility through an NFT. That's something we've seen, for example, Prada did, right? They were selling a limited collection of clothing. And then they had an NFT, digital twin of that item, bundled together with a physical object, plus the small text at the bottom. You're going to be flown to Milan to the fashion week. You can meet the designers. You can have a stay in a 5-star hotel and a restaurant dinner with a really fancy menu. And that's real world utility tied to an NFT. So I see it as a big trend, how this utility in both metaverse and real world is going to be kind of brought up. So yeah, we kind of know lots of elements what metaverse could be, but we are in exciting times of building that ahead.
Yeah, and all of this, I think, kind of ties back to what brands were already doing, like this, giving this exclusive experience to their loyal customers. It just makes sense. Now you're kind of enhancing what they were doing with the new technologies. So I really loved what you're sharing. And we have really exciting comments in the chat.
Yay, interoperability. People agree with me. Absolutely.
Yes.
But, really good example, for example, Ready Player Me. Avatars that you can use in different applications, and they have like all the time growing base of where you can use the avatars. And I think this is a brilliant example, right? I mean, why would you, like, if you think in terms of like keys, right? You have key or a special card for every place where you pay. You would rather have one card and you pay with everywhere, right? So we have this identity attached to you with your NFT wallet. And that can be, for example, explaining who you are, right? Kind of like same logic when you have with online gaming. The more you play, the more amazing like gaming accessories you're going to have that are going to express your status or how much you have advanced in the game and so forth. So the same kind of logic here, you could have your avatar represent your identity, your wallet to store the different assets you own, and you can use them for payment or access in different applications. And I think this is kind of like idealism of what a metaverse experience could be.
Right.
But I think one of the biggest like kind of myths or something that needs to be demystified is that people somehow see in a silo, right, metaverse, or in a silo virtual reality or AI. And what we need to understand that this future, this vision, what I'm just describing now of the metaverse, right, where you have experiences and identity and different locations to visit, you're going to need a whole bunch of technologies to build that. You need all of this. You need extended reality. You need digital twins. You need identity and IoT connecting sensors. So what we're saying is that metaverse is the future of internet, and it's going to be built with utilizing very many technologies. And this is just the sample here, right? The most leading ones. And another really big myth that people usually say is that metaverse is the same thing as virtual reality. Well, first of all, virtual reality is only one technology under umbrella term extended reality or immersive technologies. And it's a technology that can enable us to see this 3D internet, right? It's not the internet itself. So when we looked at the spectrum, here on the right-hand side, we have virtual reality where you just put on VR headset and you see, for example, without path-through, you see only synthetic environment, right? And you don't see the real world. Whereas, for example, if you move to the left of this slide, we have examples of immersive technology like assisted reality, where you have workers in industrial setting. They have both of their hands free, right? And then they have smart glasses augmenting instructions to them, and maybe voice user interface with AI telling you, hey, you need to press this, and this is the instructions, and this is how you use this device. So they still see real world. They see an object in front of them. They're just having an assisted reality that helps them function or do their work. And then we have augmented reality. Probably the biggest example is Pokemon Go, right? So you see the real world and you have 3D assets augmented and you need to interact with them. And then the same kind of like even interacting with the real world objects through mixed reality. So this is kind of like a spectrum we have. And we need to understand that these are technologies that are going to bring metaverse closer to end users. These are not the metaverse.
Exactly. That's amazing. Yeah, and it's so funny that some magazines are like, metaverse is dead. It hasn't
that's the funniest
realized. But yeah, I appreciate all of this. These are so cool. And especially the assisted reality. I think that's a term I haven't personally heard of. And it makes sense. So it's a 2D overlay versus augmented reality is a 3D overlay. So that's amazing. And we have our audience also very excited about everything you're sharing. Yeah, keep going. I don't want to interrupt.
Okay. So, yeah, but I mean, these are the typical things I still, when I talk to clients, I have to educate them explaining these things and it's okay, right? It's fine. So, okay, let's summarize. Metaverse is not VR. Metaverse is the internet, right? Like equals. We don't say the metaverses because we don't say the internets, right? This is a funny one. Like, or then, people clients would come up to us and say like, oh, but there are already so many of those metaverses existing. No, what we have right now can be different metaverse platforms. For example, like Decentraland, like Roblox, where we have this, what we just talked about, right? We have 3D world, a virtual world. We have very many users. We have a community. It's persistent, right? We have, interaction with different 3D assets. So these are all the elements. They're all there, but this is not a metaverse as such. That's a metaverse experience or a platform.
Yes.
And then the new word, let's look at point number 5, what suddenly everybody switched from the metaverse into spatial computing. Okay, spatial computing could be a term that, generalizes this level or this direction of the computing, what we're having. It's just that for example, for a company like Apple, it's really important for them to control the terminology they use around their products. So they kind of made a selection. We want to talk about spatial computing. We don't want to talk about MR, mixed reality, or other terms. They never, not even once, have used word metaverse in their product announcements, right?
Yes.
But they also, the headset they use, I think they use a specific terminology for that. So I'm not sure if they probably didn't use MR. So yeah, it's about terminology and understanding what the different things mean.
Yes.
But you're right. The one, like the funniest one, we saw hype in 2022. Everybody's talking about metaverse. And then Mark Zuckerberg introduced Horizon World. And again, I emphasize that's just one example of one metaverse platform. And if it didn't become immediately successful, or it doesn't have too many users, it doesn't mean that the metaverse is dead. The metaverse hasn't even started yet, because the metaverse is the future 3D internet, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of like funny to see sometimes these uneducated comments, so to say. But I think we're living, and you probably can sense it from my enthusiasm, that we're living really exciting times where this is going to be going, right? And I think one of the biggest things, is going to be how we can combine different technologies, AI, XR, blockchain, to build this like future of internet. So yeah,
I love it. I don't know how many times when I talk to general people, and they think that I work for Mark Zuckerberg because I work in the metaverse space. It's sad, that's why we need to do more education. And I appreciate everything you shared. And our audience are making good comments. Yemi says she calls it multiverse, multiple metaverses. So
yeah.
There are so many terms, but it's about just knowing that we're talking about the same thing. For this interest of time, let's talk about the next topic. Are there any use cases you want to share with us, good or bad? And then we kind of get into emerging tech and AI as well.
Well, let's talk about, for example, what kind of use cases there are for fashion, or retail, right? So I just combined here. This is like, tiny bit of things, what's out there, what's kind of like, and this came a while earlier. So, for example, I consider it's part of the metaverse as well. For example, we have all different gaming applications, right? Right now, like if before, fashion brands would publish a campaign in printed media, right, in a magazine, that's outdated by now already. Seriously, I don't know the sales figures for Vogue at the moment. They have lots of followers in social media,
digital,
obviously, right? Digital. So the things what we're seeing right now is that what brands are launching are the different dedicated game, either to a brand or to one product launch, right? So for example, here's an example of a Louis Vuitton game when they had an anniversary. It's a game where you can walk around, collect postcards, and you learn about the brand. They can release one by one different facts, and it's really engaging. So what they're really trying to do is that they're trying to keep the audience preoccupied with a brand. They're prolonging the interaction with a brand through a game. Carolina Herrera, a brand that launches, a brand that has fashion and cosmetics and perfumes, right? They launched, for example, one game that was dedicated for new perfume launch. And that was only about like one perfume, right? So that was their marketing campaign for a product.
Yep.
But then other things that we noticed, like I really like synthetic beings and models and everything related about that. So for example, there are already generated synthetic models out there that can be hired to promote different products. So you can see here Shudu, virtual model, right? And she was on a virtual BAFTA red carpet wearing a Swarovski crystal gown. So we've seen, like, for example, there are different fashion modeling agencies that are launching a new division of different virtual models that can be hired, and they don't have to look like humans. They can be looking like a little bit like elves or alienish, right? So you kind of understand that this is not a real human. But then we also see different AI influencers that don't exist in real world, but they are already models like Lil Miquela, who are advertising goods, and they're super popular. And then we have another direction of experiences. So for example, this third window here, Dior Beauty, they launched a pop-up store. Again, this was for their Christmas makeup collection, a virtual place only for that collection, right? So not for everything, not for entire brand, but if you want to get to know what they have on Christmas, what kind of like gift bags and, you know, all the limited edition things, you go and explore in a 3D virtual website set up only for one like product line. And then Metaverse Fashion Week in Decentraland, that was amazing. I was involved in launching the first one, the very first one. On the second one, I helped to bring different fashion brands there as well. There was a concert, right? So we have an entire Metaverse Fashion Week, and there was a concert gig with a DJ with Grimes, right? And I think it was a really good innovation experimentation, but the next level of that is going to be to create higher fidelity for fashion, right? Mm-hmm. Brands are super concerned with how their products are presented and how they look. And I'm like, unfortunately to say, things like Roblox and Decentraland, even though they're enormously popular because they have lots of users, but the visuals fidelity is not going to be what couture fashion is going to be after, right? They need to have very high quality polished representation of 3D of their garments. And that's what we don't have in things. So in things like Roblox or Decentraland, but they have big community. So it's about events, right? A concert, maybe you can collect NFTs, you can hang out with friends. So this is where the like community part plays well. And then we have all examples like, you know, that don't even have utility, like NFT collection by Dolce & Gabbana. This is few years old, but I love this example because they broke all of the records. They sold it like for 6 million clothes that don't exist. And there's no utility for NFT. It's a collectible item. And I think this is super exciting because people collect art, right? People collect things, and we can speculate how the value of that is going to drop or rise, whatever. But that's something that has already happened. And it's a fact that people have been collecting stuff throughout time. And then we see lots of brands in things like Roblox, right? For example, Gucci store, there's Miley Cyrus avatar. What are the chances of a young generation of fan base to meet Miley Cyrus? Not happening, right? Even if they go to a concert. But if they can go to a Roblox experience where you can have an interaction with an avatar and a concert, that's amazing access. And I think it's about democratization, right? Bringing closer to user different types of experiences that may be not existing in real world. So I think this is going to be the magic of the metaverse. VR or augmented reality, any immersive technology can, you know, create add-ons with 3D items that don't exist in real world. That's why we see so much in LinkedIn and Instagram right now, different CGI visualizations of, you know, brand items floating in the sky or buildings moving, these kind of things. Soon when kind of like smart glasses, right, augmented reality glasses, when they're going to be a mass product and they have good quality and they're connected to internet and everybody can buy them, imagine you can walk on the street and see all of these items interacting with you. That's going to be like walking in an amusement park. So I think that's really exciting. So yeah, we can't say what's a typical metaverse experience, but you're sensing now, right? Different types of elements. It's about community, entertainment, not being able to do something you can't do in real world, and this engagement through gamification and time spent on a surprise and wow factor with end user. So like I said, I'm super excited about what's coming next.
Awesome. Yeah, and a lot of these are still happening. Every day we see new activation in Roblox, we see new virtual influencers, and all of these things are still going strong. So totally.
Yeah. And then like when you think about it, you know, why would a brand like Gucci create a store in Roblox? Because this is not their customer base, right? Those are kids and they don't have that kind of money. But this is a really smart decision. They're thinking ahead. Brand work is done already now. They're already accustomed to that brand, right? And everybody, I mean, many people already know this example when a Gucci bag was sold in Roblox for more than it actually costs in real world, right? It was in real world, it was around 1,200 or something. I don't remember figures exactly. And it was about No, I don't remember the figure, but it was more than the physical item worth. And this tells us something about the values of the consumers of the future. They're willing to spend time online. They are absolutely okay with buying digital assets. It's a representation of your status. And it's not like, you have just, like put on your credit card that item. No, we have a whole mechanism, how you can be active or play and obtain different tokens or game assets or something, and then you exchange them for some other asset. So there's a whole logic behind it. And smart brands like Gucci or some others that have created Roblox worlds or Roblox games, they understand this, that this new generation, they are already kind of like metaverse ready. For them, what's a good online experience or digital service is going to be very different for what it is for us, right? Even though me and you, Nico, we're not even old yet, but we have we have already, sometimes it's hard.
Different taste, yeah, but for them, the digital identity is their real identity. And so like digital assets is similar to physical asset to us. So it just makes sense to, collect and want to have something unique. And so it all just makes sense for the younger generation, and we should, plant the seed as soon as we can. We have a quick question. How will the metaverse reshape brand and storytelling and customer relationships in the future?
Brilliant question. And I have so many things I want to answer to this. So let's see. Okay, how will reshape brand storytelling? One of the biggest things, what I think is going to be happening is that, think about this. You can be selling something really boring like necessity, like electricity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Electricity. Gabrielle, when you go shopping for electricity, you probably don't really go shopping for electricity, and you just maybe have one contract with one company that provides electricity to your house, and you don't really get to know the brand, right? As opposed to if you would be buying some consumer product or something else. But imagine if that electricity company creates such a cool metaverse headquarters, or they have a game, or then, for example, they have a loyalty program that you would spend time in their metaverse and you would be active, or then maybe you would be involved in their sustainability program and they will give you benefits to have like a cheaper price for your electricity, right? And maybe not even utility like this. Maybe you just have they have a very interesting, game to introduce their brand or their history to you, and you would go and play it. So what I'm trying to say is that storytelling is going to be very important. There's lots of new opportunities to be more creative and attract end users. And there's going to be like, it's not like electricity companies are competing between electricity companies. There's going to be like, anybody can compete with each other. We can have a fashion brand, an electricity company, the grocery store where you buy food, maybe your, I don't know, place where you buy medicine, right? Your local drugstore, something else. Who creates most interesting experience for you, who is going to win your attention? And that gives an opportunity to kind of sell or introduce products. That's kind of one thing what I believe in. Another, customer relationships. I think if we combine with the trend I talked about earlier, synthetic beings, right? Like where we have here a model. I can actually scroll to another slide. Let's drop here. This one. So we're right now already seeing, right? We have how you are represented in Metaverse as a customizable avatar, or then you see digital twins of real people, or maybe digital twins of celebrities, right? Or virtual influencers or virtual ambassadors. Imagine they are powered by Gen AI, so they can actually provide answers to you with empathy, with emotions, with knowledge. So you can have, for example, if you're buying something online, they can help you. They can help you by recommending products. They can help you by giving you information or educating you about the product. If you're building a house, imagine you have a customer service avatar that can tell you, hey, you need to make sure that, for example, you use this type of a paint primer when you paint the walls, or maybe you need to have this kind of a composition of materials. And they can be experts that help you. And then when you receive your product, maybe you're unsatisfied, you need to complain. You don't have to wait online in a phone call for somebody to help you out. You can talk to that synthetic being. And when you combine this AI synthetic being with a virtual world that you can do it online, and you can have a look in the store with a really good visualization of all of their products, this opens up a gold mine for customer interaction. So that's how I see it. I think it was a really good question.
Awesome.
Monica, would you like to add something?
No, totally agree. Well said. I like the term synthetic being, which is beyond just being an influencer. Our avatar is a synthetic being, and all the other assets. So this is really cool. I appreciate it. I'm just learning and really enjoying it. Thank you.
But then I'm adding on to this one a little bit more. When we talk about customer relationship, where? In a physical place or in a virtual place? I'm also super excited about how brands are experimenting to bring immersive technologies and all of these metaverse access points to physical locations. It's a really big trend in the world right now. Big malls and stores are closing down because people shop online, right? And there's not enough like people buying things, physical things in stores. That's like a global trend. So, for example, there are brands that are experimenting how you can attract people more, or what kind of stores of the future there might be. So here's an example. Philip Plein, a fashion designer, credit to his image here. So he created, it's the only store on Bond Street in London, a luxury boutique where you can pay with cryptocurrency. You have NFTs on the walls. He's talking about having a digital twin and NFT attached to every single product he sells. So that attracts people to come and visit the store. Another example on this slide, on the right-hand side, a company I have collaborated with a lot, DressX. It's a startup for virtual fashion online store. So they have, for example, Printemps is a department store in Paris, in France. They have these magic mirrors where you can stand in front of a big screen with a camera and you can try on digitally all different clothes. So that's kind of like bringing a virtual try on inside the store and have it gamified. And then another project I want to show you here, just a second. This is something our Accenture team in Stockholm did. And this is kind of like what a store could be. So you have products on the shelves, you have a camera, and you create your avatar, and you can write the products that you have on the shelf. You can create, like, try on immediately on the avatar. But imagine if you extend that experience. You can, for example, with different hand gestures, you can select, okay, I want this and this and this, and then you have maybe an in-store robot that collects you the right sizes, the right products, delivers it directly for you to try on, where you're going to have a try on area, right? Or maybe you just want to buy it and then they pack it and it's connected to your online store account. So you don't actually have to pay now. You don't have to carry anything. They're going to ship it to your home. So this kind of a seamless experience, combining several points of interaction with the internet and with the different assets, I think that's going to be a really exciting thing also to kind of build new experiences or services for future.
Yeah, and it is our hybrid omni-channel. You can connect all the dots, bring your avatar to the physical store, and not have to stay in the line and go to the fitting rooms. Yeah, totally frictionless.
And then maybe like a virtual store, like I remember I took this example here, Burberry in Ginza in Japan, right? In the pandemic, where you couldn't travel, you couldn't even go, properly to outside your house to the store to buy food. Burberry launched Ginza store online boutique virtually in 3D, and it was a really simple, right? It's like it was a with Matterport camera probably, so it was a scanning of a real store, and you can click all of the items and you can see what the shelves what the shelves look like, what the new products look. And I think virtual stores is a really good example to get to know the brand, get to know their products. I've never been to Japan, but I have been to Burberry store in Ginza, Japan, virtually. Nice. And I think that's really exciting. And I was able to do that on 2D screen. What if I can, for example, visit that store with virtual headset, right? Like really walk around. And then when we talk about like maybe, I don't know, seamless purchase, I would select items in that VR experience and they would be shipped home to me and my credit card is connected to it. So yeah, there's going to be quite many retail applications in the future.
That's amazing. Really cool use cases.
Yeah. Nico, what do you think? Should we talk about AI?
Sure. Do you think 15 minutes or so is enough?
So I want to kind of, I want to talk.
Let's touch on it. I mean, most of these things would not be even possible without AI. We often think AI is a whole separate thing, but it has been the power behind all these experiences we're talking about, from XR to the synthetic beings to everything you mentioned. There is the component of AI in the back end. But I think more specifically, probably want to talk about generative AI that got more popular recently.
Yeah. Well, I want to take this opportunity, and please, I am biased because I work at Accenture, right? So you don't have to take my word for it, but I recommend you, because since you joined this session, right, you're interested in new technology, have a look later at Accenture Technology Vision. This is something we publish every year. And this is like our thought leadership like document, or how to say, lighthouse for a year, right? It changes, but it takes into account trends, what are being there reported in the world. So in 2022, we had a technology vision that was dedicated entirely to Metaverse, right? Meet me in the Metaverse, and how XR technologies are helping to shape the future. This year, we have a technology vision that is kind of solely concentrating on AI, human by design, how AI unleashes the next level of human potential. And what we're seeing right now is that, for example, for this research, right, we interview around 3,000 leaders from different companies, enterprises around the world, from our clients, and not necessarily our clients, our partners as well, to see what are the big trends happening. So 95% believe that making technology more human massively will expand the opportunities in every industry. What do we mean by this? Well, right now we see already how human AI has become, right? Yes. If 5 years ago, we only had headlines and titles in newspapers like AI is going to come and take your job, but everybody's talking on an abstract level, that AI somewhere there. Right now, everybody can try ChatGPT and talk to it and ask any kind of questions, right? On a daily basis, it can help you do your work. It can help you find answers. And it's this conversational interface that is changing how you interact with a new technology. So 95% of the surveyed leaders globally say that they believe how we interact with data is changing with AI. So we're no longer searching for information, we're directly talking with information, we're interacting with the data. And the interface becomes more human. So there are 4 trends in this year's technology vision. The first one is called Match Made in AI, and it's about reshaping relationship with knowledge. The second one is Meet My Agent. And then the third one is The Space We Need. And then the fourth one is called Our Body's Electronic. So let's walk through these 4 trends now. So the first one, Match Made in AI. So as I said, we're experiencing really exciting times when Gen AI has become so accessible to everybody, right? You can prompt images. Right now, we see amazing developments in how you can have initial image and then suddenly prompt a video out of it, right? Yes. That is moving at a really fast pace. Or we see examples where you have text to 3D, or maybe sketch to 3D, right? You sketch something and it creates your 3D model. So the way you can interact and talk with technology has changed, and we're moving away, for example, from like when we're searching for data, we're moving away from retrieving data to having this kind of a conversational advising and providing answers to you. So we're literally talking to AI, and that's a really big trend. shaping the way we're going to be expecting how we fetch any data in the future, how we can get any data. The second trend, and I didn't know this company before, but this was a really exciting. So imagine we have AI doing things for you, right? Your personal assistant. It can look like a synthetic being or an avatar, or not even necessarily that. But imagine AI is able to kind of be your delegate, your representative. So there's this company, Do Not Pay. They're designed to help consumers save money. So they can contest parking tickets, they can identify unused subscriptions. So what they did is that they connected ChatGPT 4, and the first use was by their CEO, use case by CEO. So he gave this agent access to his financial accounts and prompted to say that, hey, find me money. So the agent identified $81 in unnecessary subscriptions. Wow. And unusual $37 for in-flight Wi-Fi fee, right? So that's kind of like over $100 saved from their pocket. And then the agent offered automatically to send cancellations to those subscriptions, right? Like talked with the subscription providers on behalf of that person, drafted a letter to contest the Wi-Fi charges, right? Checked with the CEO for review, and as an icing on the cake, drafted and sent emails and negotiated 20% reduction in cable and internet bill. So you get the point now, right? You have an AI agent representing you, your benefits, to your advantage, talking to potentially another agent from that other company. And that's what we mean is going to be, we're going to see more kind of ecosystem of AI agents interacting with each other. So that's trend number 2. Trend number 3, we talked a lot about this, the space we need, spatial computing, right? We talked the first half of this session about this. So spatial computing to provide the future of internet for us. And 92% of the executives who were interviewed, they said and agreed that their organization plans to create a competitive advantage leveraging spatial computing. So everybody understands that eventually we are going to get there. Right now, it's a little bit slower time maybe for the metaverse or spatial computing. But where those AI agents or AI-powered avatars are going to live, where are they going to be? They are going to be in the metaverse, serving the end users and customers. And then the last one, this is like a really forward-looking future trend. If we already started talking about new user interfaces, right? Talking to AI, but it's going to go one step further. You can already have all sorts of sensors, right? Biometrics, collecting data about you, for example, from your smartwatch, right? Maybe measuring your pulse, maybe measuring your, humidity of skin, or something else. And then it would, analyze that data and provide you maybe a recommendation. Hey, you were super stressed today. Why don't you have this meditation session in the evening before you go to sleep? Yeah. Or maybe we see different types of things like, other types of wearables, not only watch, maybe something like, Neurosity crown that measure impulses in your mind, how you can utilize that to, for example, create an immersive experience in an art exhibition or something like this. So there's going to be lots of research and experimentation with about how we can use different technologies to interact more with the human body, maybe learn data from it, analyze it, and provide something useful for the end user. And that would open a lot of opportunities for healthcare, right? So, for example, if somebody has been in a car accident, then they need a rehabilitation program, right, to restore their muscles or maybe movements. They would have different sensors or haptic suit or wearing them, and then they have a program of exercises that they need to follow. They can do it with fun in VR. They can do it in front of a camera, and they would get a haptic feedback saying, hey, you need to lift your hand up a little bit more to do this exercise correctly. These types of things, or maybe, even just basic like metrics, to measure your health and, analyze your data and keep a digital twin of your health and track it and provide it to your doctor or your hospital. So something like this. So there's lots of opportunities there as well. the
And it
more.
would be cool to even connect this to that metaverse that we just talked about. So, like, imagine like my watch will track my physical activity or my sleep, and then my avatar in that metaverse environment looks tired because I didn't sleep, or looks fit because I worked out so much. So this connectivity and kind of merging all these technologies is just like limitless what we can do with it.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe kind of like a summarize. Guys, I recommend to you have a look at it. Like I said, I'm biased, but maybe you learn something really interesting new. And watch out, the Technology Vision comes out every year around end of January or February. It's a good publication, and throughout the years, technologies pretty much stay the same. They're in different configuration, so to say. XR and AI have been, but this also takes into account like different trends, what is happening in the world and how it's used. So I recommend it. And maybe kind of like to summarize, yeah, I'm really excited. We talked a little bit in silo first about like spatial computing and XR and the metaverse, and now we talked about AI. But let's think of all of this together. Let's have a synergy and and imagine the future where you have an experience that can be anything. It can be a performance, it can be maybe useful experience, like you were checking out your new apartment remotely in 3D, right? And then you have a person who's guiding you over and explaining as a synthetic avatar, right? Showing you, hey, last renovation was done 2 years ago by the previous tenant, or here we have, I don't know, any kind of information you want to ask when you're looking for an apartment. So you don't necessarily have to go physically there, but you'll get all of the data in the right answers being virtually there in 3D. And I think that's still building on to what Gabriel asked, like, what's the future of storytelling? I think the potential of storytelling exponentially exploded. It's going to be, it's a phrase that people say, sky is the limit, but really sky is the limit. You can have, I don't know, flying elephants representing your brand in a metaverse headquarters, and nobody can stop you from doing that if you want to.
Beautiful, amazing. This was really insightful. And we had several questions, but for the sake of time, we don't get to answer all of them. But guys, please follow Olesja and reach out for more. Check out those reports that she shared with us. Where can we find it, Olesja? Is it on Accenture website?
Oh, no, you can just Google Accenture Technology Vision. You'll find it.
Awesome. Cool. That's
Hey,
helpful.
one last question I see there also about AI. Maybe a really good point to highlight. One of the ways how we can think about how metaverse and AI come together is that, before, if you were creating a virtual environment, you would spend, I don't know, well, depending, of course, on the environment, you would spend weeks or months to create 3D models, the environment, sync everything, and, build it. With the tools developing much faster, you can, for example, first prompt the concepts with imagery. I don't know, even using Midjourney, what it should look like. And then you would use Gen AI to build 3D models, or maybe even build environments much faster with AI. So what I'm trying to say is that you can fuel the metaverse creation also with the power of AI. And that's a really important point.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks to our amazing audience for their engagement. Before we wrap, I would love to know how our audience can find you, support you, Olesja, and any, closing thoughts that you may have.
Sure. Well, hey, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I accept invitations because I think, we live in the age where LinkedIn is an amazing networking platform. I follow lots of people for inspiration, and I'm always happy to chat. And so just find me on LinkedIn. Maybe I can, Nico, if you can post my surname here as well.
Make sure.
So
or you can put it in the comments. But yes, we will definitely make sure different channels that we're posting have your LinkedIn connection. Awesome. And I really appreciate your time. If you can just tell us what are some of the news outlets, publications, and, thought leaders that you follow that you can recommend to our audience, that would be great.
Yeah. Well, I follow Road to VR. It's a online publication about like extended reality or VR. I read quite many news. And then TechCrunch, the typical. I don't listen to podcasts. When I go jogging, I listen to music. I want to go away from technology, so that's the reason. But yeah, follow Alan Smithson on LinkedIn. He's amazing. He posts really great content about extended reality or the metaverse. He's legendary. He's been in the industry for a really long time. So shout out to Alan if he sees this by accident. I've collaborated with him. Obviously, Katie Hackle, right? Really inspiring for fashion and that kind of like but in general, metaverse, spatial computing, everything. She's really good.
She was
Yeah.
godmother of the metaverse. Yes.
Yeah, the godmother of metaverse. And then also follow news by companies, right? Like sign up to follow even in LinkedIn. I mean, it should be compulsory for everybody to follow NVIDIA.
Yes.
And and other companies that are in the space, in the XR space.
Very cool. Thank you so much for your time, Olesja. It was so insightful. We all learned so much. I appreciate your time and your enthusiasm that just gives everyone hope that we are actually working hard towards this beautiful future together. And thanks to our amazing audience, Fatima, Ian, Irene, Gabriel, Yemi, everyone else who tuned in and engaged with us. We will be back next week with one of the winners of Coca-Cola Emerging Tech competition. He's a creative individual who has been a copywriter and then moved into using emerging tech AI. So very great story. Definitely tune in next Tuesday at 12 p.m. EST. And thank you so much for your time. We'll be back next week. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.